Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Engage in the trade of. An equal exchange. Steady winds blowing from east to west above and below the equator. They rode the trade winds going west. People who perform a particular kind of skilled work. As they say in the trade. The business given to a commercial establishment by its customers. A particular instance of buying or selling. I had no further trade with him. Turn in as payment or part payment for a purchase. Trade in an old car for a new one. Exchange or give something in exchange for. Do business. Offer for sale as for one's livelihood. The skilled practice of a practical occupation. He learned his trade as an apprentice. Be traded at a certain price or under certain conditions. The stock traded around $20 a share. The commercial exchange, buying and selling on domestic or international markets, of goods and services. Venice was an important center of trade with the East. Engage in the trade of. Commodities offered for sale. Good business depends on having good merchandise. An equal exchange. We had no money, so we had to live by barter. Exchange goods without involving money. An equal exchange. Exchange or give something in exchange for. Move a piece of a program into memory in computer science. An equal exchange. Exchange or give something in exchange for. Steady winds blowing from east to west above and below the equator. They rode the trade winds going west. Shrewdness as demonstrated by being skilled in deception. People who perform a particular kind of skilled work. He represented the craft of brewers. Skill in an occupation or trade. The skilled practice of a practical occupation. A vehicle designed for navigation in or on water or air or through outer space. Make by hand and with much skill. The artisan crafted a complicated tool. A communication that indicates lack of respect by patronizing the recipient. Be a regular customer or client of. The act of providing approval and support. The business given to a commercial establishment by its customers. Even before noon there was a considerable patronage. Customers collectively. Politics, granting favors or giving contracts or making appointments to office in return for political support. Support by being a patron of. A particular instance of buying or selling. He's a master of the business deal. An agreement between parties, usually arrived at after discussion, fixing obligations of each. He rose to prominence through a series of shady deals. Wood that is easy to saw, from conifers such as pine or fir. Take into consideration for exemplifying purposes. Succeed in doing, achieving, or producing something, with the limited or inadequate means available. Often followed by of a large number or amount or extent. A deal of trouble. Direct the course of, manage or control. A particular instance of buying or selling. It was a package deal. Give out as one's portion or share. Act on verbally or in some form of artistic expression. This book deals with incest. Do business. Offer for sale as for one's livelihood. She deals in gold. Administer or bestow, as in small portions. Deal a blow to someone. The cards held in a card game by a given player at any given time. Be in charge of, act on, or dispose of. I can deal with this crew of workers. A plank of softwood, fir or pine board. Behave in a certain way towards others. He deals fairly with his employees. Distribute cards to the players in a game. Who's dealing? Give a specific card to a player. He dealt me the queen of spades. Sell. Deal hashish. Take action with respect to someone or something. How are we going to deal with this problem? The act of apportioning or distributing something. The captain was entrusted with the deal of provisions. The act of distributing playing cards. The deal was passed around the table clockwise. The type of treatment received, especially as the result of an agreement. He got a good deal on his car. Turn in as payment or part payment for a purchase. Trade in an old car for a new one. Lay aside, abandon, or leave for another. Switch to a different brand of beer. Control consisting of a mechanical or electrical or electronic device for making or breaking or changing the connections in a circuit. Reverse, a direction, attitude, or course of action. Cause to go on or to be engaged or set in operation. Switch on the light. The act of changing one thing or position for another. His switch on abortion cost him the election. An event in which one thing is substituted for another. Make a shift in or exchange of. First Joe led, then we switched. Exchange or give something in exchange for. Change over, change around, as to a new order or sequence. A basketball maneuver. Two defensive players shift assignments so that each guards the player usually guarded by the other. A flexible implement used as an instrument of punishment. Flog with or as if with a flexible rod. Hairpiece consisting of a tress of false hair, used by women to give shape to a coiffure. Railroad track having two movable rails and necessary connections, used to turn a train from one track to another or to store rolling stock. Deliver to an enemy by treachery. Do business. Offer for sale as for one's livelihood. The brothers sell shoes. Be approved of or gain acceptance. Be responsible for the sale of. Be sold at a certain price or in a certain way. These books sell like hotcakes. Exchange or deliver for money or its equivalent. She sells her body to survive and support her drug habit. Give up for a price or reward. Persuade somebody to accept something. The French try to sell us their image as great lovers. The activity of persuading someone to buy. It was a hard sell. Exchange or replace with another, usually of the same kind or category. The act of changing one thing for another thing. Adam was promised immortality in exchange for his disobedience. Give to, and receive from, one another. Put in the place of another. Switch seemingly equivalent items. Reciprocal transfer of equivalent sums of money, especially the currencies of different countries. Exchange a penalty for a less severe one. A workplace that serves as a telecommunications facility where lines from telephones can be connected together to permit communication. The act of putting one thing or person in the place of another. Sports. An unbroken sequence of several successive strokes. Change over, change around, as to a new order or sequence. A mutual expression of views, especially an unpleasant one. They had a bitter exchange. A workplace for buying and selling, open only to members. Chemical process in which one atom or ion or group changes places with another. Chess, gaining, or losing, a rook in return for a knight or bishop. Black lost the exchange. Chess, the capture by both players, usually on consecutive moves, of pieces of equal value. The endgame began after the exchange of queens. Hand over one and receive another, approximately equivalent. Exchange prisoners. The act of giving something in return for something received. Deductible losses on sales or exchanges of property are allowable. Reverse, a direction, attitude, or course of action. Mutual interaction, the activity of reciprocating or exchanging, especially information. The act of changing one thing for another thing. There was an interchange of prisoners. Give to, and receive from, one another. Put in the place of another. Switch seemingly equivalent items. Synonyms can be interchanged without changing the context's meaning. Reciprocal transfer of equivalent sums of money, especially the currencies of different countries. He earns his living from the interchange of currency. Cause to change places. Interchange this screw for one of a smaller size. A junction of highways on different levels that permits traffic to move from one to another without crossing traffic streams. The predominant wind direction. The prevailing wind is from the southwest. A body of students who graduate together. The class of 97. People having the same social, economic, or educational status. The working class. Arrange or order by classes or categories. How would you classify these pottery shards? Are they prehistoric? Education imparted in a series of lessons or meetings. Flirting is not unknown in college classes. A body of students who are taught together. Early morning classes are always sleepy. A collection of things sharing a common attribute. There are two classes of detergents. A league ranked by quality. He played baseball in Class D for 2 years. Biology. A taxonomic group containing one or more orders. Elegance in dress or behavior. She has a lot of class. People having the same social, economic, or educational status. People having the same social, economic, or educational status. An abstract place usually conceived as having depth. A subpopulation divided into a stratified sampling. One of several parallel layers of material arranged one on top of another, such as a layer of tissue or cells in an organism or a layer of sedimentary rock. People having the same social, economic, or educational status. A commercial or industrial enterprise and the people who constitute it. He bought his brother's business. Incidental activity performed by an actor for dramatic effect. His business with the cane was hilarious. The principal activity in your life that you do to earn money. He's not in my line of business. Business concerns collectively. Government and business could not agree. Customers collectively. The activity of providing goods and services involving financial and commercial and industrial aspects. Computers are now widely used in business. An immediate objective. Gossip was the main business of the evening. A rightful concern or responsibility. It's none of your business. The volume of commercial activity. Business is good today. The act of transacting within or between groups, as carrying on commercial activities. No transactions are possible without him. The act of transacting within or between groups, as carrying on commercial activities. He has always been honest as his dealings with me. Method or manner of conduct in relation to others. Honest dealing. The act of transacting within or between groups, as carrying on commercial activities. He has always been honest as his dealings with me. Mutual dealings or connections or communications among persons or groups. Social or verbal interchange, usually followed by with. Lay aside, abandon, or leave for another. The car changed lanes. Cause to change, make different, cause a transformation. The discussion has changed my thinking about the issue. Exchange or replace with another, usually of the same kind or category. He changed his name. An event that occurs when something passes from one state or phase to another. The change was intended to increase sales. Become different in some particular way, without permanently losing one's or its former characteristics or essence. Her mood changes in accordance with the weather. Give to, and receive from, one another. Would you change places with me? Become deeper in tone. His voice began to change when he was 12 years old. Change from one vehicle or transportation line to another. She changed in Chicago on her way to the East Coast. A difference that is usually pleasant. It is a refreshing change to meet a woman mechanic. A different or fresh set of clothes. She brought a change in her overnight bag. A relational difference between states, especially between states before and after some event. He attributed the change to their marriage. A thing that is different. He inspected several changes before selecting one. Change clothes. Put on different clothes. Coins of small denomination regarded collectively. He had a pocketful of change. Money received in return for its equivalent in a larger denomination or a different currency. He got change for a 20 and used it to pay the taxi driver. Remove or replace the coverings of. Father had to learn how to change the baby. The action of changing something. The change of government had no impact on the economy. The balance of money received when the amount you tender is greater than the amount due. I paid with a 20 and pocketed the change. The result of alteration or modification. There were marked changes in the lining of the lungs. Undergo a change. Become different in essence, losing one's or its original nature. She changed completely as she grew older. Conduct business. Transact with foreign governments. A specific piece of work required to be done as a duty or for a specific fee. Estimates of the city's loss on that job ranged as high as $1 million. A crime, especially a robbery. The gang pulled off a bank job in St. Louis. Invest at a risk. The principal activity in your life that you do to earn money. Arranged for contracted work to be done by others. A state of difficulty that needs to be resolved. It is always a job to contact him. A book in the Old Testament containing Job's pleas to God about his afflictions and God's reply. A damaging piece of work. Dry rot did the job of destroying the barn. A Jewish hero in the Old Testament who maintained his faith in God in spite of afflictions that tested him. An object worked on. A result produced by working. He held the job in his left hand and worked on it with his right. Any long-suffering person who withstands affliction without despairing. A workplace, as in the expression, on the job. Computer science, a program application that may consist of several steps but is a single logical unit. Profit privately from public office and official business. The performance of a piece of work. She did an outstanding job as Ophelia. The responsibility to do something. It is their job to print the truth. Work occasionally. As a student, I jobbed during the semester breaks. The principal activity in your life that you do to earn money. The act of occupying or taking possession of a building. Occupation of a building without a certificate of occupancy is illegal. The control of a country by military forces of a foreign power. The principal activity in your life that you do to earn money. Any activity that occupies a person's attention. He missed the bell in his occupation with the computer game. The period of time during which a place or position or nation is occupied. During the German occupation of Paris. A course of reasoning aimed at demonstrating a truth or falsehood. The methodical process of logical reasoning. I can't follow your line of reasoning. A slight depression or fold in the smoothness of a surface. His face has many lines. Mechanical system in a factory whereby an article is conveyed through sites at which successive operations are performed on it. A connected series of events or actions or developments. Historians can only point out those lines for which evidence is available. The road consisting of railroad track and roadbed. A conceptual separation or distinction. There is a narrow line between sanity and insanity. A succession of notes forming a distinctive sequence. A conductor for transmitting electrical or optical signals or electric power. The principal activity in your life that you do to earn money. He's not in my line of business. Make a mark or lines on a surface. Draw a line. Often plural, a means of communication or access. Lines of communication were set up between the two firms. The descendants of one individual. His entire lineage has been warriors. Space for one line of print, 1 column wide and 1/14 inch deep, used to measure advertising. A short personal letter. Drop me a line when you get there. A telephone connection. Be in line with, form a line along. Trees line the riverbank. The maximum credit that a customer is allowed. A particular kind of product or merchandise. A nice line of shoes. A pipe used to transport liquids or gases. A pipeline runs from the wells to the seaport. A commercial organization serving as a common carrier. Acting in conformity. In line with. A formation of people or things one behind another. The line stretched clear around the corner. A formation of people or things one beside another. The line of soldiers advanced with their bayonets fixed. A fortified position, especially one marking the most forward position of troops. They attacked the enemy's line. A length, straight or curved, without breadth or thickness, the trace of a moving point. A mark that is long relative to its width. He drew a line on the chart. A single frequency, or very narrow band, of radiation in a spectrum. A spatial location defined by a real or imaginary unidimensional extent. Cover the interior of. Line the gloves. Fill plentifully. Line one's pockets. In games or sports, a mark indicating positions or bounds of the playing area. Mark with lines. Sorrow had lined his face. Persuasive but insincere talk that is usually intended to deceive or impress. Let me show you my etchings as a rather worn line. Reinforce with fabric. Lined books are more enduring. Something, as a cord or rope, that is long and thin and flexible. A washing line. Text consisting of a row of words written across a page or computer screen. The letter consisted of 3 short lines. The United States federal department that promotes and administers domestic and foreign trade, including management of the Census and the Patent Office, created in 1913. Transactions, sales and purchases, having the objective of supplying commodities, goods and services. Social exchange, especially of opinions, attitudes, etc.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.